Thank you so much for watching online. My name is Mele and I serve on the Arise worship team. If you want more information about our services, visit us online at www.arise.church. We hope this message speaks to you today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Here at Arise Church, and I just want to mention real quick, I hope that you got into a small group this past weekend, and if you haven't, it's not too late. So get connected in a small group, go online, get one of the directories, and just get into community. I am a firm believer that life is better together. Our friends make such a huge difference in our life, and if you're in that place of just saying, I wish my life was different, I would say, well, get different friends, because I never forget what I heard someone say, that you are the sum. Your life is the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So you're going to be an average of those people. So you say, hey, I want to get my life to another level. Sometimes you just got to get around the right people, and they'll lift you to that place. And I'm grateful for my friends. I'll tell you, get your friends. So get into a community, get into a group, and just get the right people around you that can get your life pointed in the right direction. Well, we're in a series entitled Chasing the Wind, and we're going through the book of Ecclesiastes and just highlighting a few things. It's what I've been reading on my sabbatical, and I just thought, man, this would be a great series. It was written by Solomon, Ecclesiastes, and if you know Solomon, anything about him, he was what people would say, he was the wisest person to ever live on the planet, but even Solomon turned from God. Just because you're smart doesn't mean you always listen, and Solomon didn't listen to what God said. He said, don't marry the foreign women, and Solomon went after the women. So when he married the women, they brought their gods, and then it eventually turned his heart from the Lord. And so Ecclesiastes was written at a time when they believed that he repented of his sin in his older age and he came back to the Lord. But you know, in that season of his life, and you read through the book, there's a pessimistic tone to it, and he's kind of evaluating and he's questioning things in his life. And the verse from Ecclesiastes 1:2 sums it up. He says, everything is meaningless, says the teacher, completely meaningless. And what he's saying is that word meaningless there is smoke or a vapor, and he's just saying everything is just a vapor, smoke. It just dissipates. Everything we do, and I would rephrase it just saying this way, what's the point of life? What's the point of life? And that's what Solomon was at that place. What's the point of it all? And he looked back at his life and he just said, it's all meaningless. And it's not that Solomon was a loser by any means. He had anything his heart wanted. He had homes, he had money. They say in today's dollars he would have been worth $2.1 trillion. He was a multi-trillionaire, and he was loaded, and he had everything he could ever want. And he looked at his life and he says it's all meaningless. And the conclusion he came to is that wisdom, work, and pleasure apart from God doesn't mean anything. And if you've been trying to pursue things in life apart from God, you're going to find it's like chasing the wind. You'll never find satisfaction. And if you were in here last week, I'd encourage you to listen to that message. And today I want to look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. And it says here, for everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. A time to be born, to die, to plant, to harvest, to kill, to heal, to tear down, to build up, to cry and to laugh, to grieve and to dance, to scatter stones and gather stones, embrace and turn away, to search and to quit searching, to keep and to throw away, to tear and to mend, to be quiet, to speak, to love and to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And he was reflecting on this and just realizing that everything that happens, there's a purpose. It's not just the good things that happen. There are going to be difficult things that happen in life, and it's a time and purpose. You know, one of the questions I get asked a lot by people when I go to the mainland, you know, being from Hawaii, you know this, people love to ask questions about Hawaii, and I get this question often, do you have seasons in Hawaii? And so I have my cheeky answer all the time. I say, yes, it's rain and sunshine. And the 2 seasons, and they come multiple times. Sometimes we get multiple seasons in multiple hours, and it's always changing. But of course, the real answer is no. We don't really have seasons here. What what we consider cold, people in the mainland will laugh at us, right? When women start putting on their Ugg boots and their scarves because it's 69 degrees, right? They think that's ridiculous, because here in Hawaii, you can wear shorts every day. You can go swimming every day. Even on the days we think is the coldest day, you can still jump in the ocean and you're going to be okay. It's just where we live. That's why they call it paradise, all right? But in other parts of the world, they see 4 distinct seasons. There's spring, summer, there's fall, and there's winter. And it's very distinct. Spring is the season where life happens, where things begin to bloom once again, where plants are growing and flowers are coming out, and it's beautiful, and it's all about life happening after the winter. And then you hit summer. Summer is a time of harvest. It's a time of abundance where people hang out a little more relaxed in the summer. It's warm. You can swim. You can stay out late. The sun is out longer. That's summer. And then you hit fall. Fall is that time, maybe looking at it as a time of caution, because things are changing. Now, again, in the mainland, it's beautiful in fall. If you ever saw the trees, they turn to all these beautiful colors in the hills, and it looks beautiful. But the reality is those leaves are going to fall off. And they're getting ready to die. And plants in the fall are getting ready. They're going to die, a lot of plants. Why? Because winter's coming. And in winter, it's cold. Winter's a cold time. A lot of plants die. There's not really growth. You don't wait till winter to harvest. It's not the harvest season. It's a cold season. It's really kind of a death season. And I know in Hawaii, I've heard people say, "Oh, I wish it would snow here." No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't know what you're talking about, all right? You don't. Real winters are miserable. Real miserable. I still remember years ago where my wife was complaining when it was freezing cold. I think it was 67 degrees. And right on the TV, they had just said that it was minus 16 degrees in the mainland. And we don't get it, all right? We don't get it. We live in paradise. Every season requires different things from us because our bodies all react in different ways in every season. There are people who love winter. You say, why? Because now they get to dress up in their winter style, right? You get to wear your coats and your pants, and you get to put scarves on, and you get to wear your winter clothes. While there's others who hate winter because now when they get up in the morning, their joints are sore. It's cold, you're stiff, and you're struggling through in living life, and it's not really that fun in the winter season. There's people who dread spring. Because when spring comes along, their allergies flare up and their eyes are watering and they can't breathe and they have to take medication, while there's others who love spring because now they can begin to have picnics again and again to see the grass growing and life happening all around them. Different people have different reactions to different seasons. So Solomon says, for everything there's a season, a time for every activity. On heaven, not only are there seasons on earth, but there are seasons in our life. We experience seasons in our life. Life is always changing. And some of you here this morning, you're in a good season. And there's some of you here today, you've been in a bad season. See, the seasons in our life are a little different than the seasons on earth. As we're in fall, we're heading into fall. We know what comes after fall. After fall is... All right, 5 of you guys. The 5 who went to Waikea High School with me, no. I don't know where everybody else went. But winter. We know that winter is always after fall. But the seasons in life can be in any order. We know that every season may last around 3 months. But the seasons in life, sometimes you can camp in a season for years. You see, the seasons in life have different parameters. They can change instantly. It can change. It could be the death of someone. It could be the birth of someone that changes your season. It could be a divorce. It could be a marriage that changes the season. The seasons can shift. They're different. The seasons in our life, when you look at the spring seasons of life, that's when we experience fresh vision in life. There's that new growth, a renewed vigor. Maybe you just got married. Maybe you just had a baby. Maybe God has called you to start a new business, or you're involved in a new ministry in the church. It's something new, and you feel like you're alive. You know your purpose in life. You feel like all of heaven is behind you and that hell can't stop you, and you're ready to take that mountain. You're in that spring season. And then in our lives, we have the summer seasons, and that summer season is when we experience the abundance in life. There's abundance and there's fruitfulness, and it just feels like everything is going wonderful. And maybe today you're in that summer season. It's like, wow, that's great. I love my life right now. Everything's so good, and all of us are so happy for you. Okay, and then you get to the fall season. When in fall, there's caution. There's fatigue that's beginning to set in, maybe even anxiety, because there's that uncertainty in the future. You begin to question, am I doing what God has called me to do? Am I in the right place in my life? You see, there's anxiety as around you the leaves begin to fall. As kind of, it looks like, oh, death is kind of setting in. What's going on? I don't know if God is with me. And then you get to that winter season in our life. You say, what's the winter season? It's when vision is challenged. In fact, you don't even know what the vision is in your life in the winter season. You almost feel like God isn't even with you. You might even think, I think God's mad at me. God doesn't like me. And you're in that winter season and you're just trying to script through, because in that season now, there's no growth that's happening in your life. You don't see any traction that's in your life. And even there's death and things in your life that might be dying spiritually. And you wonder, God, what is going on? And the winter season can be the most brutal season in our life. Some of you are in that season today. You're in that winter season. You barely made it to church today, and you're standing here during worship, and the guy next to you is in the summer season, and he's worshiping and loving God, and you're just standing there angry that they're worshiping, and they're so happy because you're going through hell. It's not fair. God, why do you give them that, and you don't give me that? Maybe you're here, you're in the summer. Why did I come to church today? I'm in the summer season. Trust me, you're going to enter into the winter season soon enough. Because seasons change. And if you're in the winter season today, realize you're not in it forever. Seasons change. And what I want to highlight this morning is simply the winter season. The winter season. I want to talk to you about the beauty of the winter season. I don't need to talk to you about the beauty of the spring season. If you're in spring, you're good. I want to talk to those who are in the winter season. And like I said, if you're in spring, listen up, because you're going to hit this soon enough. I've experienced winter a lot of times. And I know that winter will come again, because it's just a part of life. And if we're moving in life, you go through seasons. And we don't understand it. And it can be so discouraging because you feel like you're stuck in it forever. But the good news is seasons change. Seasons can change. So in this winter season, what I want you to understand is that although we might dread winter, winter is necessary in every one of our lives. It's necessary. It's necessary here on earth, and it's necessary in our spiritual lives to go through these seasons when it feels like everything is falling apart, because winter will get you to do things a little different. Get you to do things a little different. The first thing when I think about winter that it gets us to do is it gets you to change your clothes. Gets you to change your clothes. I have clothes in my closet that I hardly use, but it's my winter clothes. When I go to certain places, I take out my winter clothes, because you have to dress differently not in Hawaii, but in other places of the world. Some years ago, we were in Springfield, Missouri in February, and it was so cold. I remember having a bottle of water in our car that was frozen solid. I mean, just frozen solid. That's how cold it was. And I had 3 layers of clothes on, plus my winter coat, and I was still freezing. I was shivering, and I wasn't even walking normal. I was sliding my feet, because there was ice frozen on, and I didn't want to be the guy from Hawaii that falls down, right? And so it was cold, and you have to dress differently, or literally you'll die. You know, in the winter seasons of your life, let me tell you, you need to put on the garment of praise. You got to take off the spirit of heaviness. Because it's in those moments when you feel the most like you just want to be depressed. It's when you got to worship God. You got to put on the armor of God. You know, God isn't going to get you dressed for you. You got to make the decision to do it. You have to put it on, because the bottom line is you're either going to fight or you're going to perish. And it's in the moments when we feel like God is the farthest when we have to worship him. And I can't stress the importance of worship enough in our life. I love what it says, that when we draw near to him, he'll draw near to us. In those seasons we feel God is far and we're waiting for God to come. No, you take the first steps. In fact, Jesus says, I love these words when he met the woman at the well. He said, the Father is looking for those who will worship him in spirit and in truth. God is looking for the true worshipers. He's not looking for the whiners. A lot of people that are whining and wondering why God's not. He's not looking for you. He's looking for those who will worship him. Those who, even though life looks bad, can still lift up their voice and to draw near in their worship. You see, we got to change our clothes in the winter season, put on the garment of praise. Here's the second thing that winter does. It brings death. How many know that death isn't necessarily a bad thing? It just depends on what's dying. Some years ago, I was a lot younger. I was probably around 19 years old, and I was asleep in my bed. It's my parents' house, and I'm sleeping, and there's something moving in my hair, and just not thinking, right, when you're sleeping, and I just reach and I touch it, and I got stung. It hurt. I wake up, I turn on the light, I squeeze my hand, and there's 2 spots where blood is coming out. I knew it was a centipede. And so, what did I do? Did I just go back to sleep? No way. I don't know, it was like 2 in the morning. I tore everything apart in my room. I searched. I took, the mattress, the sheets, the mattress, the pillows, everything until I found that centipede. And I tell you what, I don't care if you're a PETA person right now. I killed it. I didn't catch it and release it outside. I killed that thing. And let me tell you, it was a good thing. I was telling this story a couple of weeks ago to some pastors. They never got bit by a centipede, so I'm telling them this story about how sore it was and it hurt my hand. And then this other pastor walks up and says, oh yeah, I had a centipede climb up my lava and bite me there. I said, I now yield the floor to you. Sorry guys for my little baby hand story. Let's hear his story. I'm done. All right. I'll tell you, the winter brings death. You might think that farmers like warm winters because it's good for their crops. You know, the actuality is they don't. They want cold winters because the cold winter kills the bugs. When it's really cold, it gets into the ground and it kills the larvae. You see, what happens is in a warm winter, it doesn't kill the bugs, and then in the spring, they're forced to buy more pesticides and more work and more labor spraying to kill the bugs, because if they don't kill the bugs will eat the fruit and they're not going to have a harvest. And you know, in our life, it's in these cold winters that God begins to kill the bugs in our life. Because God is concerned with our fruit. Our fruit. Matthew 7:19. Every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions. Our fruit is important. But what happens is if we don't deal with the bugs in our life, you say, what are the bugs? They can be sinful, unhealthy, immature, compromised, things that endanger the fruitfulness. If we don't deal with the bugs, it's going to eat our fruit. And we've all experienced those bugs in our life that have sabotaged us because we haven't allowed the bugs to die. See, what we fail to realize this is that bugs and fruit grow together. We say that again, bugs and fruit, they grow together. But in the winter season, I don't know why, but when we hit rock bottom a lot of times, it's real easy to be humble all of a sudden. You know, in the spring and summer when you're bawling, I don't need God. Yeah, I'll hardly come to church. Yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then when it all falls, oh, God, all of a sudden you start realizing, well, these were the bugs. These are bugs. I need to be humble. I need to get rid of this. I need to get rid of that. And all of a sudden we're ready to listen. We let the bugs die. Because bugs and fruit grow together, and if we don't kill the bugs in our life, they're going to eat our fruit. We got to let the bugs die. Here's the next thing the winter season will do. It will bring breakthrough in your life. Breakthrough. In case you're wondering if I made this all up, last night one of the girls in the service said, my dad is an apple farmer, and everything you said was true. So I just want to let you know that. Okay, and it says here, beyond killing the bugs, you know that cold serves another purpose. With perennial crops such as apple trees that you don't plant every year. These kind of crops that are in the ground and grow through years, they found that the shorter days and sustained low temperatures bring a dormancy, a sleep, almost like a hibernation to these plants. And it's in these hours that growth is halted. And when that growth is halted, do you know that the plant is actually storing up energy during this time? You don't see any growth happening. It actually looks like the tree might be dying, but it's storing up energy in this time. And it's in this time when the farmer can actually begin to prune the trees without fear of it growing. They can prune it. They can actually transplant the trees. They can move the crop in these places. And as it's storing up energy in this chilling time, they know that when spring comes around, that there's going to be even a greater crop that comes from day one. You see, if it was warm, it will keep on expending its energy, and without the time, do you know the tree will generate fewer and weaker buds? It will limit fruit production from day one, but when it is storing this energy, when spring comes around, that harvest will come through. And I believe that in the winter seasons, when it might feel like we're not moving anywhere, when we stay focused on God, you know what's happening? We're storing up for something great that's going to come. What might look like a setback is actually God setting us up so that He can catapult us into the next season of our life. For some reason, we think we need to always be growing, and no, that's not always it. Sometimes we're just storing up for the next season. This is the beauty of the winter season. What will it do? It'll make you grateful for summer. I used to think that, I wish I had winter, until I was actually stuck in one. I was in Japan. I remember it was a beautiful day, go out in the city. I had the right clothes on for the morning, but by that afternoon, it was starting to snow, and I was freezing. Not just cold, freezing is how cold I was. I didn't have, and me, I'm tight. I'm not going to, some of you would just go in the store and buy some more clothes. Not me. I'm like, I have clothes back at home. And I was freezing, and I was shivering, and I used to always think I like cold. All I could think about right then was like, I wish I was back home in Hawaii right now. And I was shaking. I had to walk home, get back on the train, walk, and I was just so cold. We can take the summer seasons for granted. We can take the times when it's good for granted. The winter season will make you grateful for summer. The winter seasons will make you grateful for those moments when life is so good, to realize that it's because of God in our life. And here's the last thing about a winter season. It will change. If you play your cards right, you can make it through the season quick. If you play it wrong, get ready to live there. Some of you have been living in winter for 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. You can have your seasons change. You don't have to be stuck where you are today. You might be in that bad time. You might have walked in thinking, my life will never change. I'll tell you, that's a lie. Seasons will change. Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, the original readers of Isaiah's book were the Israelites who were living under the captivity of the Assyrians. The people of Israel, the majority of Israel, chose to worship other gods. And after not listening, God finally says, all right, if that's what you want to do, go for it. The entire nation is taken into captivity by the Assyrians. And so here they are, living in captivity to the Assyrians. And Isaiah says this in Isaiah 40:31, those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. What is he saying? These people are living in a winter season. But he's talking to those who still believe in the true God. He says, look, if you just wait on the Lord, he'll renew your strength. There's another season that will come if you continue to trust in God. And I think that's a word for some of you here today in that winter season. Trust in the Lord. He can renew your strength. He can get you to that place where you can keep on going to get through the season. Look at your neighbor and say, there's a new season. See, Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11, Solomon says, yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. I love what he says here. He has planted eternity in the human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to the end. See, we a lot of times we just can't grasp it. We don't understand. You're in this winter season and you think there's no hope in the future. I read this commentary by Jay Winter on the book of Ecclesiastes in this portion of scripture. He says the Hebrew gives the picture of a set or appointed time. The beauty comes in recognizing and acknowledging the place and purpose of every person, thing, or event in God's overall plan. This is all we can do. For the second part of the verse tells us that even though God has given us the ability to investigate and to try and make sense of his handiwork, we cannot fathom the mystery of divine providence unless God chooses to reveal it to us. As Michael Eaton says, God's disposal of events in their times is beautiful. And when you look at our lives today, we may not understand what is this season and that season, and why do I have to go through this hurt and this part of brokenness and this pain and this discouragement, and we're going through all of this. And you look at what Solomon says, we're not always going to be able to figure it out. But this is what I believe, is that God can weave the seasons of our life together into something good. He can take the seasons and in the tapestry of our life, he takes this hurt and that victory and this and that, and he begins to weave it together until there's that beautiful blanket that's woven, and it's going to be hung up, and at some point we're going to look back at the picture of our life and we're going to say, all right, now I get it. Now I understand. Wow. What I thought was bad really just set me up for something that was good. When I thought God forgot about me, I realized he was just getting ready to bring me into this and to that. And yeah, I had to change this and that. And it gives new meaning to Romans 8:28 when Paul told the Roman church, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. You know, God isn't today, he's not going to kill somebody in your family to teach you a lesson. That's not the God we serve. Can we just be clear on that? But you know, whatever comes our way in life, he can bring good out of it. What the devil means for evil, God can mean for good. And you know, whatever season you're in, you got to get this today, that the biggest factor about whether or not the season changes is you. It's you. Look at your neighbor and say, it's me. See, some of you still looked at your spouse and said, it's you. It's you. It's you. I told you, it's you. Did you hear what he just said? It's you. What happens in those seasons, and I've been there, you look around at everybody else and you just think, man, if only they would change, if they stopped saying that, if they stopped doing that, if they die, my life would be better. We're just angry at everybody else, and we don't realize it's me. And you've been stuck in your winter because you're waiting for everyone else to say, stop trying to change everybody else and change you. Stop trying to change your husband or your wife and change you. Stop trying to change your kids, change you. Because when you change you, you can begin to change your season. You know, I've shared many times in our story, the last couple of years we've been in winter. It's been a winter season for us, and it's been a challenge with especially our oldest son. And a lot of you are familiar with that story, but our son, he's just been a testimony of God's grace. But I tell you, it was tough. It was tough. And there'd be so many nights when I'd just be lying in bed and I'd just be thinking about him. And I'm just like, he needs to stop doing this. He needs to be this. And I'd just be so angry and this and that and this and that. And I'd be, my wife and I would be talking and we'd just be so frustrated and no. And just all these things and all the things we could think that he needed to change in his life. And it wasn't until I began to realize, I heard a pastor say this who was going through stuff with his kids. And he said, all along, I thought God was working on their testimony until I realized he was working on mine. And I'm looking at all of those things until I came to the realization, I need to change me. Because I couldn't change him, no matter what. All the screaming, all the shouting, all the threatening wasn't going to change him. I remember talking to my wife one day, and I said, you know what, we're going to stop saying this, we're going to stop doing that, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And she said, we're just going to, no, we're going to stop doing that, and just say, this is what we're going to do, and begin to make that intention. And people could have almost thought, well, you just don't care about him anymore. I was like, no, I'm just going to stop trying to change him. Because I can't change him. Only God can change him, but I can change me. We began to just change our approach, a little more of a hands-off, and just pray. Just to pray. And it's amazing what happened, the change that came when God got a hold of his life. Some of you trying to change again, your husband or your wife, stop it. Stop it. They can change for the moment and they'll hate you the next day and you'll start fighting again. But when God does something in their life, and you're going to want to say, I've been telling you that the whole time. Just shut up. Don't say that. Just be glad that God's doing it in them. Because when God does it, just this weekend we got to go online and just see Zane was there, and he was actually he's playing piano this weekend at Motion Church with Pastor Roger. And it was awesome to see that. And I just realized it was a testimony of God's grace. Was winter season going to come again? Of course. I don't know what, but there'll be challenges. I know. But I've just learned that they change. And that's why when you talk to older people about your problems, you ever talk to an older person and they say, well, don't worry, you're going to be okay. You walk away like, they don't even care about me. They don't even listen to my problem. No, it's just because they're old. And it's like that insurance commercial. They know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two. They know. You'll make it through. And I used to have people tell me, don't worry, bro, don't worry about your son. He's going to be good. It's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. Like, what? Really? Don't you care? Why did I call you? It don't make me feel better. But they know that seasons change if we take the right steps and we stop blaming people and we take accountability in our own life and we change ourselves. We can get out of the season we're stuck in. Come on, is that okay today? Close your eyes with me. Lord, I thank you this morning for every person here, every life that's represented in this place. God, you know where people are. You know what season they're facing in life today. And God, I just thank you that we will stand strong. For those in the summer, in the spring seasons, Lord, we thank you for what you're doing in their life. But God, for those in the fall and winter seasons, God, I thank you for what you're doing in their life and the beauty of winter in refining and getting us ready for spring, for getting us ready, God, for new growth. And Lord, I pray that we won't despise the winter seasons, but Lord, that we'll embrace them to see what you want to do in our life. The most important thing as we live life and navigate life is knowing who Jesus is, his grace and his mercy, the love that he has for you and for me. And today, if you've never asked Jesus into your heart, I want to pray with you. I don't want to end without giving you the opportunity of just asking him, receiving his grace and mercy. Salvation isn't earned, it isn't bought, it isn't by doing more good things and bad things. It's simply by asking Jesus into your heart. And today you want to take that step. I want to pray with you. In fact, can I ask everyone, can we join with those maybe saying this for the first time today? Say, Heavenly Father, I ask Jesus into my heart. I believe Jesus died for me. I also believe that he rose from the dead and he's alive in me today. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for forgiving me. In Jesus' name. And we all said, amen. Amen. God